World War II remains one of the most significant and impactful events in modern history, with the Holocaust standing as one of the darkest chapters in human civilization. It is a subject that has been extensively studied, written about, and memorialized globally. Yet, for Germans, this historical period holds a particularly profound resonance, given that the country was at the center of the conflict and bore responsibility for the atrocities of the Holocaust. As a result, Germany's relationship with World War II and the Holocaust is complex, multilayered, and constantly evolving. This article explores whether Germans talk about World War II, what they teach about the Holocaust, and how these subjects are integrated into German society and culture. World War II left Germany devastated, both physically and morally. The country was left in ruins, cities were bombed into rubble, millions of people were displaced, and the country was divided into East and West. The Nuremberg trials in 1945–46 prosecuted key leaders of the Nazi regime for war crimes and crimes against humanity, including their role in orchestrating the Holocaust. For many Germans, the immediate post-war years were focused on survival and rebuilding the country from the ashes of war. But there was also a heavy burden of guilt and shame associated with the Nazi regime and its actions. In the aftermath of the war, many Germans were reluctant to openly discuss their role in the conflict or the atrocities committed. For years, there was a palpable sense of collective silence, as many people struggled to come to terms with the enormity of what had happened. In West Germany, in particular, there was a tendency to focus on rebuilding the nation and integrating into the Western democratic order, while in East Germany, the communist regime presented itself as an anti-fascist state, blaming the war and the Holocaust on the capitalist West. In both parts of Germany, there was little public discussion about the Holocaust during the immediate post-war decades. However, by the 1960s and 1970s, this began to change. A new generation of Germans who had not experienced the war directly started to question their parents' and grandparents' roles during the Nazi period. This generation, driven by a desire to confront the country's past, pushed for more open discussion about the war and the Holocaust. In West Germany, this process accelerated with the 1968 student movement, which demanded that society take responsibility for its Nazi past. The division of Germany during the Cold War meant that the processes of reckoning with the past were somewhat different in East and West, but after the reunification of Germany in 1990, there was a unified approach to addressing the legacy of the Holocaust and the war. Today, Germany actively discusses and reflects on World War II, and the Holocaust is a central aspect of this reflection. The German term Vergangenheitsbewältigung, which translates to coming to terms with the past, encapsulates the national effort to deal with the country's Nazi past. This process of Vergangenheitsbewältigung has permeated German society, culture, and politics. Conversations about World War II are not rare in Germany, but they are often marked by a sense of caution and gravity. The war and the Holocaust are not topics that are taken lightly, and there is a general understanding that these subjects must be approached with respect and sensitivity. In public discourse, there is a strong rejection of any attempt to glorify or trivialize the Nazi regime, and any form of Holocaust denial is strictly illegal under German law. This is enforced through strict laws against hate speech and the dissemination of Nazi symbols and propaganda. At the same time, Germany has gone to great lengths to memorialize the victims of the Holocaust and to educate future generations about the atrocities committed during the war. Numerous memorials and museums dedicated to the Holocaust and other aspects of the Nazi regime can be found across the country. One of the most prominent is the Memorial to the Murdered Jews of Europe in Berlin, a massive structure that serves as a stark reminder of the 6 million Jews who were killed during the Holocaust. Additionally, Germany has placed Stolpersteine, stumbling stones, across many of its cities, small brass plaques embedded in the pavement to mark the last known residences of Holocaust victims. These initiatives reflect the country's commitment to remembering and educating about the Holocaust. In everyday life, Germans discuss World War II in various contexts. The war comes up in historical discussions, family histories, and as part of broader conversations about nationalism, extremism, and the rise of right-wing movements in Europe. There is an understanding that World War II is not just a part of German history, but a shared part of European and global history. Many Germans express a sense of responsibility to ensure that the atrocities of the war and the Holocaust are never forgotten, and this is reflected in the way the subject is approached in both public and private conversations. The Holocaust is a central part of the curriculum in German schools. From an early age, German students are taught about the atrocities committed by the Nazi regime, and Holocaust education is mandatory in secondary schools. The German education system places a strong emphasis on history, and the study of World War II and the Holocaust is seen as essential to understanding not only German history, but also the broader context of European and world history. Holocaust education in Germany is designed not only to teach students about the historical facts, but also to promote critical thinking about the moral and ethical lessons of the Holocaust. Students are encouraged to reflect on the dangers of authoritarianism, racism, and xenophobia, and to consider the importance of human rights and democratic values. The Holocaust is framed as a cautionary tale about the consequences of unchecked hatred and intolerance. In many German schools, students are taken on field trips to concentration camps such as Dachau, Bergen-Belsen, or Buchenwald, where they can see firsthand the places where millions of people were murdered during the Holocaust. These visits are often emotional experiences for students, and they are encouraged to reflect on the human cost of the Holocaust. The goal is not only to educate students about the past, but also to instill in them a sense of responsibility to fight against racism and anti-Semitism in the present and future. In addition to classroom education, there are many extracurricular programs and initiatives aimed at educating young Germans about the Holocaust. Museums, memorials, and organizations offer educational programs, exhibitions, and workshops that delve into the history of the Holocaust and the wider context of World War II. These initiatives often focus on personal stories of Holocaust survivors, emphasizing the human impact of the atrocities. There is also an increasing emphasis on digital education about the Holocaust, particularly as the number of Holocaust survivors dwindles. Virtual reality tours of concentration camps, online archives, and digital storytelling platforms are being used to ensure that future generations have access to the testimonies and experiences of Holocaust victims and survivors. This digital approach complements the traditional methods of Holocaust education and helps to make the subject accessible to a broader audience. One of the key aspects of Germany's approach to World War II and the Holocaust is the acknowledgement of its responsibility to remember and learn from the past. This responsibility is not only seen as a national obligation, but also as a moral imperative to prevent future atrocities. The German government has taken a proactive role in ensuring that the country does not forget its Nazi past and that the lessons of the Holocaust remain relevant. Chancellor after chancellor, from Willy Brandt to Angela Merkel, has reiterated Germany's commitment to remembrance and reconciliation. Willy Brandt's famous gesture of kneeling at the Warsaw Ghetto Memorial in 1970 was a powerful symbol of Germany's acknowledgement of its guilt and responsibility. More recently, Angela Merkel's speeches have frequently touched on the importance of remembering the Holocaust and standing against anti-Semitism and hate in all its forms. This sense of responsibility is also reflected in Germany's foreign policy, where the country has consistently supported efforts to combat anti-Semitism, Holocaust denial, and hate speech internationally. Germany plays an active role in the United Nations and other international bodies in promoting human rights and fighting against extremism and racism. The country also works closely with Israel and Jewish organizations around the world to ensure that the memory of the Holocaust is preserved and that the victims are honored. As the number of Holocaust survivors dwindles and younger generations grow up further removed from the events of World War II, there are challenges in maintaining the memory of the Holocaust. In Germany, as in other parts of the world, there are concerns about rising nationalism and anti-Semitism, as well as attempts to rewrite or minimize the history of the Holocaust. In recent years, there have been debates in Germany about how to balance the need for Holocaust remembrance with other aspects of the country's history. Some argue that Germany should focus more on positive aspects of its history, such as its post-war recovery and contributions to European integration, while others stress that the country must never lose sight of its responsibility to remember the Holocaust. Despite these challenges, Germany remains committed to Holocaust remembrance and education. The country continues to grapple with its Nazi past, And the lessons of World War II and the Holocaust remain deeply ingrained in its national consciousness. Through education, memorialization, and public discourse, Germany strives to ensure that the horrors of the Holocaust are never forgotten and that future generations understand the importance of standing against hate and intolerance. In conclusion, Germans do talk about World War II, but the way they talk about it is shaped by a deep sense of responsibility and a commitment to remembrance. The Holocaust, in particular, is a central part of Germany's historical consciousness, and the country has taken great care to ensure that future generations learn about the atrocities committed during the Nazi era. Through education, memorials, and public discourse, Germany continues to confront its past and work toward a future where the lessons of the Holocaust are never forgotten.